Hello everyone, my name is Krishna Jadhav and today I will be presenting the topic Diversity Metrics and Analytics Global Benchmark Variation 79, analyzing workplace diversity using data and benchmarks. So let's just get started. So first we'll know about what are diversity metrics and why they are important. So starting off, what exactly the diversity metrics are? These are both numbers and qualitative insight that help us to understand how diverse and workflow works. It's not about how many people from different background we hire, but also how we feel working in the organization. Let's suppose considering there are people from different states, people from different genders, people from different background, different experience. So that is what it's all about, what we call a diversity metrics. This diversity metrics, these include things like gender ratio, ethical diversity, and also feedback from employee on how inclusion and culture works. The second slide is global diversity benchmark variation 79. So what is variation 79 and key elements and the benchmarks? So there is a special benchmark called variation 79 that's useful worldwide. Think of it like standard or framework that companies can use to measure and compare their diversity levels. So we can say that it is this standard. There are multiple standards, like as an example, let's take let's take the examples of ASME, right? ASME is American Standards of Mechanical Engineering. So uh, those are standard which set by some particular organization, which has to follow some like other organization has to follow those. So those variation 79 is a standard, we can say, that is very that gives structure on how we collect and analyze diversity data, especially from global organizations. Talking about key element of this benchmark, that talking about key elements that are representation metrics like gender, race, and ethnicity. Second is pay equity and wage gap analysis. The third one is inclusion and employee engagement across scores, compliances with international diversity standards. Third slide is common diversity metrics used in global companies. First is representation metrics like gender, radical, and disability diversity in hiring and leadership role. Second is paying equity and wages gap metrics, tracking salaries indifferent across demographic groups, employee inclusion and retention metrics, measuring workplace culture and employee retention, employee turnover rates. Okay, so as I have mentioned in this presentation, and this is the diversity by industry, right? There are like multiple sectors, you can see technological, finance, education, and healthcare. And there is the percentage of women working there, and then the percentage of radical monitors, right? So we can clearly say that in technology there is 20% of female working here, and 50%, almost 50 to yeah, almost 50 to 55, uh, almost like 25%, sorry, 25%, you can see that there is other radical monitors which are working here. So first represent show that how we are hiring and who on hiring hiring on the leadership roles, then payoff. So tools and method for diversity analysis: data collection method, employee self-reporting, HR records, and anonymous surveys, right? Anonymous surveys. So diversity, right? Like whenever we are in working in an organization, there are multiple people who are working there. So we need to analyze their attitude. We need to analyze their behavior, the way they work. So data collection method can be employee self-reporting, right? If let's just take an example. If I'm working at a company and I want to tell something, or I want to express something, or I want to give an feedback, so I can just go directly up to HR and I can just self report myself, whatever the issue, whatever the issue is, whether good, whether bad, whatever I have to report, it will be self reporting, that HR records, right? So based on my past experience, let's consider that I'm working at a company since 4 or 5 years. So I must be having the record of myself to HR. Then on basis of HR records, it will an anonymous survey. There is anonymous survey are are like taking feedback from people unknowingly, anonymously, like without any identity. We just collect the data. Second, analytical AI driven HR analytics platform like dashboard and predictive modeling. Changes in diversity Changes in diversity and predictive models are also developed in this. Challenging diversity in analytics, data privacy concern, bias in reporting, and accuracy of self-disclosure. Sometimes there bias in reporting, right? We don't know, like, if the person who's reporting to you, the person who's reporting to us is actually telling the truth or not telling the truth. He might be biased in his statements and all. And the accuracy of self disclosure, like there are people who do not disclose themselves to anyone very easily, so there is one gap between that. Case studies of companies like case studies of companies using diversity metrics. Okay, this is very interesting point. So first case study first case study is google case study google case study Case study: Google AI driven in Google case study, Google's AI driven diversity hiring strategy. The second case study is Microsoft approach to pay equity benchmarking. Case study: Unilever's global diversity and inclusion reporting. So first case study is Google's AI driven diversity hiring strategies. Right. So Google is using AI to hire people from across sector. As I mentioned, people who are having different backgrounds, different experiences, different castes, different genders, like male, female, LGBTQ, and multiple gender which are existing outside. The Google is also considering the AI is trained, or AI is modeled by the database in a such a way that it must make sure that whatever the hiring is going across the overall across the Google's company, whatever hiring is happening or whatever hiring is ongoing, there should be diversity. The second case study of Microsoft approach to pay equity benchmarking. Right. So Microsoft, recently there was a news that Microsoft is being the most bestest company in their work culture. So this is one of the example of Microsoft that approaches to pay equity benchmarking. Consider that company is paying everyone every penny which they are working for. Like, people who are working at Microsoft is getting paid of what they are working there. If they are adding any value, they are getting paid. It's not as if there is this person from this state, then he'll getting less salary. If this person is from, let's consider someone is from Maharashtra. So Microsoft won't do like, okay, this person is from Maharashtra, then we'll pay less salary to this person. No, they won't do that. So whoever is like working at Microsoft, they will be getting equally treated from Microsoft. Though it's in salary, though it's in cultural thing, and though it's anything related to it, they'll treat it. What are the lesson we learn from this? That importance of transparency and accountability. From these case study we learn about how regularly auditing and improvement of diversity strategies. So the companies like Google and Microsoft are like setting the benchmark of diversity and benchmark of how we should be treating people equally, though they are your employee, they are colleagues, and people who are around us. So this is the conclusion and recommendation. So conclusion of summary of takeaways are: diversity metric help drive workplace equity. Global benchmark like variation 79 provides standardization. Yes, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that variation 79, we can say it is the standard that help us to understand what is actually diversity in an organization. Best practices for organization: use structured diversity tracking systems. You can create a structured diversity tracking systems, align with global benchmark for credibility, regular updates diversity policies based on analytics. And what is the call to action? That encourage leadership commitment to data driven diversity policies. Thank you.